Hello everyone, I'm Tommy and welcome back to StudioScents. Today I'm excited to unbox a fragrance that I've been waiting to check out for a while, Boss Bottled Absolute. Take it away. I believe the original fragrance back in around the late 90s, 1998. I'm going to give you my first impressions of Boss Bottled Absolute. So we're going to get right into it. People are becoming aware that fragrances actually have notes in them. So a lot of manufacturers, a lot of perfume houses are creating boxes with the notes on them. And that's what Hugo Boss has done with Boss Bottled Absolute. So the notes are right on the back. I'm going to show you there. Actually, you know what? Let me take the cellophane off first before we actually read anything. So let me get my handy knife out. Take this off. Now we are shed of the cellophane. And you can probably see it a lot better. So the box is kind of a gray. And on the very back, you've got some silver ring there. You can see the notes. Top notes are bergamot, apple, plum. Heart notes are cinnamon and cashmere wood. Base notes are sensual woods and musk. I'm going to anticipate a very woody, a little bit darker, going to be a really nice winter fragrance. This is one reason we're even talking about it today, because I purchased this in anticipation of winter and trying it out for that particular season. But you have boss.com, the ingredients listing, only authorized retailers are permitted to sell this product, yada yada. And on the very bottom, you've got your scan, your QR code, your UPC code, 36 months open, a couple of other things there. Just your typical box. So we're going to get into that, pull it right out. Box over here. Now one thing, I have seen the bottle obviously because it's on the very front of the box and in commercials. I like the fact that it's a darker, like you can see through. The glass is really smoky and you can see the juice inside of it. It's got kind of a mysterious aura about the darker glass. And of course you've got the typical Boss embossed on the front and then Hugo Boss Absolute. So you can see that. And on the very bottom you have the adhesive stamp. See that as well. So I'm going to take the lid off, and without much fanfare, let's see how that atomizer works. I'm going to give it it takes about 2 to 3 sprays before it actually pumps. There we go. That was a good one. All right, here we go. Okay, so getting the cinnamon and the cashmere wood. Okay, so I'm slightly surprised about how soft it is. My expectations were of a little bit heavier fragrance, but it's similar to the original 1998 DNA, but it doesn't have the harder, it's almost like it has been toned down, softened down. It's got a little bit of sweet, semi-sweetness to it. I really do like the cashmere wood and the cinnamon and the I don't really catch. Bergamot is used as a binder, right? It's kind of like a, hey guys, come on in, we're having a party, and everybody comes in and it's like a group hug, and that's where you get that fruity, that light, that almost green, sweet aura about it. Don't really get that, at least not on a strip. Now, one thing I've learned is that you cannot trust strips because they don't include, of course, the moisture and the heat and our body chemistry, which can oftentimes change the way that a dry down ends up. Okay, I gotta stop smelling this. One thing I will say about Boss Absolute is that it's very, very pleasant. Okay, so this is not an overwhelming sensation right out of the atomizer. It isn't gonna choke anybody out. It's not gonna make anybody feel like you've bathed in a fragrance unless you bathe in this fragrance. It is a little bit lighter version, I would say, of the original. It does smell very similar, but it's more modernized. Right? And when I say modernized, I mean the perfumer behind the creation of this fragrance is Manfrotto, I believe, born in Cannes. She has a background in biochemistry and medicine, but she decided to pursue perfumery, and has been very, very successful in doing so. And I think this, in part, kind of is a good example of her success. Who better to say, hey, that smells masculine, or that smells really good on a man than a woman? I mean, you've heard that before, that women don't look good for you, right? They don't get dressed up and they don't look fantastic for other men. They do it for other women because that's who they're trying to impress. It doesn't take really anything to impress a guy, just a pretty face, and that's about it. They don't care what you're wearing. Not necessarily the same thing with fragrance, but in a way, and that's why I say this could be unisex, because it's got a little bit of the sweet vibe to it. It is something that would lend itself towards being very versatile. I'm not saying you couldn't wear this in summer. I can see someone rocking this in warmer weather, but it is definitely a cold weather fragrance. All right, we've tested out a tester strip. Let's see what it's like on the skin, because it does, as I mentioned before, it does tend to change with the chemistry of our own body, with the heat and the moisture that is naturally on our skin. So let's try that out. When I got out of the shower today, I specifically avoided putting on any kind of fragrance because I knew that I was going to be testing this out. So I'm going to put it on my arm here. Let's try this out. Okay, that's 2 sprays. I do like the atomizer. It does put a good bit of juice. Nothing overwhelming. It really does smell very sweet. It's almost, okay, here we go. See, that's what I mean. On the tester strip, I didn't even get it's almost got like an amber, almost like a labdanum or an ambroxan feel. And you can sense a little bit more of the bergamot. And I think it takes heat to kind of bring that out. Okay, wow, I really, really like it so much better on skin. I like this so much on skin that I would be hesitant to say don't test it out on a strip. Honestly, don't. If you're thinking of purchasing this and you want to really know what it smells like, get a sample of it. Don't test it out with a tester strip. You're not going to get a good example of what it really is. Okay, so that's really nice. So I don't feel that this is unisex anymore. It definitely does it has a very masculine vibe, and the woods need that heat, that little bit of heat and a little bit of moisture to really come out and to come to the forefront. So while I still think it is a very versatile fragrance that almost anyone can wear, I'm going to say it is very masculine. So the cashmere wood and cinnamon are such a great pairing of those two. This fragrance is, it does retain some of the complexity, but I would say it's a simpler version of the original DNA released in '98. So it is a nice, more modernized version. Now I've heard some negative things about the longevity. The sillage is relatively good, decent projection. It's not going to be something like an intense, like an eau de parfum, something that has a little bit heavier vibe and has like a radius of about 2 to 3 feet. I don't think this is going to have that kind of radius. Already I can kind of tell that as this is drying down that it's not going to retain its birth. We're going to just say girth or birth, whichever, meaning radius of projection. Longevity, I would have to just guess. I'd like to pause this and come back later, but this video is designed to be kind of just a snapshot of the fragrance itself as a first impression. So I'm going to say that judging, you could sometimes tell the longevity of something by its projection. And if I had to gauge the projection or the longevity of this based on its projection, I would say you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 hours at the most. So that's not super impressive, kind of a challenge for Absolute. My expectations might have been a little bit too high, and that's another negative about the internet, is a lot of things that we read about other people's experiences with something, we can tend to set expectations based on that instead of our own real world experience. I highly, highly recommend that even though you're watching me saying this about this is all subjective. You could feel completely differently, but generally speaking, the things that you've read about the projection, about the longevity of this is probably going to be really close to being accurate in terms of it being not as great as its predecessor. This is, I believe it's going to retain its popularity. It's probably going to grow in popularity a little bit. It's a great addition to the family. I think Annick Minardo did a great job at blending a lot, really, really, really good blend. I mean, I love the blend, and I love what this does. I really love what this does on your skin. But the problem, what I don't love about it, is that it doesn't do it to the degree or with the intensity and the strength that I was actually expecting. But that's okay. Again, it's a great addition to the family. very masculine, very pleasant, very pleasing. It definitely has a place on my shelf. In my rotation, I will definitely use it. Now it is just up to you to decide if it's something that you wish to purchase, try out. I recommend it. I really like it. Now I did lie to you guys a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I mean because it wasn't intentional, but I'm admitting it now. I did actually wear this after I originally videoed the box opening. It has been about, what, 2 hours later? So 2 hours have actually gone by since I sprayed this on my arm. As you can tell, like if you reverse the video, I wasn't wearing this, right? So I had to go to the store. So we stopped video production, went to the store, came back, and I just wanted to give you the results of that. And the results are that in the dry down, a lot of the top notes, like the plum and the apple and bergamot, just disappears. So bergamot is relegated to the background, way into the background. The nice thing about the apple and the plum is that they complement each other. So those two notes kind of get merged into one, and primarily the apple wins over because the apple note is a little bit higher. So it maintains a little bit more strength than the plum does. So you get a little bit of, I actually like that. It actually turns out to be a good thing. You get a little bit of an apple woodsy, so you got a little bit of semi-sweet, but a much more woodsy. So the cashmere wood and the sensual woods and the musk come together. So it's like being covered with a soft, downy, sensual blanket. So you get some of that warmth, but you also have a little bit of that apple, which is almost like a hope for spring. So it's a soft, very sensual, very masculine fragrance, but it's also very hopeful. In other words, it's like light at the end of the tunnel. My opinion hasn't necessarily changed. It's just my impression has been bumped up a little bit. So I really like it. I really like the fragrance. I can't recommend it enough, especially at the price point. One thing I think that Hugo Boss has been, I mean, as you can see, the presentation isn't like tremendous. Like the lid is just, there's nothing to it, right? The atomizer, it's a nice atomizer, but it's not anything super fanciful. The body is almost like semi-utilitarian. You've got the typical emboss. They kept the same bottle virtually for everything. So it's kind of their trademark. But because of that, and maybe because of what they're saving in marketing, I don't know, but the price point is really, really good for Hugo Boss Absolute. So there's no reason for not having it. And the quality of the fragrance is a little higher than standard, I think. So I really like it. I can't recommend it enough. This should be in your rotation. It's definitely going to be in mine. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel, like, and comment below. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and for all of your support. I'm Tommy with StudioScents, and I'll see you next time.